Okay, let's get started. Last day of the conference. Hope you guys are still up for the last talks as well. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Ruben. I work at For Each. We're a smaller software company. We make made-to-measure software solutions for third parties, and we're based in Antwerp, about a mile away from here. Before I worked at For Each, I worked in a bigger corporate setting for a larger bank here in Belgium, KBC, where I started as a software engineer, then transitioned from analyst to project lead and so on. So I've experienced teams in different settings, different sizes of companies, and also from different roles. And what I've experienced is teamwork is difficult. It remains a challenge. We need to put effort into it. So that's how I came to my title. Teamwork is difficult. Can Sociocracy help? Who here has heard of Sociocracy? Quite a few. Okay. For those that have not heard for it, let's see what ways of governing a company there are and where Sociocracy fits in. So what do we know? Autocracy. In an autocratic system, only a few people are involved in making a decision. This is a very easy way of making decisions. This is very fast, but it has some downsides. Let's look at some of those. So, because only a few people are involved, we have a very low participation and inclusion from the rest of the company. This causes us to miss wisdom. And also because we don't involve people in our decisions, we get a very low engagement from the people that are impacted by those decisions. So we will see very little commitment of other people to make the company a success. You might be wondering why I am talking about autocracy. And that's because in most companies, most decisions are being made this way. You may think, no, I'm a team lead, I involve my people, but often you will have the final say, or a management board will have the final say. So be aware of this behavior. What else do we know? Democracy. In a democracy, we vote by majority vote. What are the downsides to a democracy? Because we vote by majority, we ignore the minority. So again, a lot of missed wisdom. This leads also to conflict rather than harmony. Just look at the political arena in Belgium. It's not a harmonious system. So then, is there a third way? Is there a different way to go about it? And that's where I found Sociocracy. So what is it? In a sociocratic system, the people that are impacted by the decisions being made are the people making the decisions. So in a development team, this means that the team will make the decisions themselves. So it's not decided by somebody besides the team or somebody above the team. When we decide how we will go about certain problems, we do it together. As equals. This is also in line with the agile mindset, where we try to empower our development teams as much as we can. So today I'm going to talk about two topics. First, the team structure, because the way we structure our team influences the behavior within the team and how we interact with one another. The second one is, okay, when we have that team then, and we have equivalence, and we're all on the same level, how do we make a group decision? So those are more some practical tips and tricks for moderating those conversations and that process. So first, team structures. I will talk about my experience and the structures I faced and the pros and cons of those. So, team structures of For Each. I think we're all very familiar with this first one, where we have our customer, we put a project manager, to capture the customer needs and translate them to the development team. As I have drawn the arrows, this is also most of the time how it works. And the customer demands, the team executes, and the project manager translates. So what happens in this situation? Our project manager focuses completely on the client. This is not the biggest problem. We want the client needs to be heard, and hopefully we get a happy customer. But what also happens, because the focus is in that one direction, is that we have the tendency to solve features and prioritize features over technical depth, over the needs of the team. Maybe we want to experiment with a new technology, we need something in the future. But then, oh no, there's no time for this because the big deadline is coming up and everybody just needs to develop, and develop. So this leads to frustration with our developers. That's why we at For Each decided to take a look at this structure and make a change. So what did we do? Still have the customer, of course. We have a project lead with the responsibilities for the budget and the planning and so on. We assigned a lead developer to explain better to our customer those technical depth issues. And then we had a team lead. So we intentionally pulled those responsibilities to two persons, where they can now have a healthy debate between the needs of the customer and the needs of the team. Let's see what kind of behavior this causes as well, because it's not all positive, of course. So, okay, healthy balance between team and customer. Good point. Negative point. We have a lot of different agendas in this constellation as well, especially for us because our project lead is not part of the team, he is detached from somewhere else. So we have the agenda of the project lead, the one of the team lead, we have the tech lead there. A lot of different agendas, a lot of miscommunication, and a lot of issues that slip through the cracks. This eventually often leads to confusion, because we have too many people influencing the team. This was a situation when I joined For Each. And then as a Sociocratic believer, I said, okay, let's look, can we get inspired? Can we learn something from Sociocracy? So what does Sociocracy tell us about teams? They call it circles. It's best to have a small team, between 4 and 10 people, with a well-defined aim. Okay, we already had those two. It's best to have clarity over who is in the team. We didn't have that, because where does the project manager belong, and so on. And we want equivalence within the teams, and we want them to take ownership of their domain and also have the power to decide within their domain. This led us to make the following change, where we say, okay, let's make a small team where everybody involved is in that team, in that circle, on the same line. Strive for that equivalence. And the team lead is accountable for the overall process, and he's the moderator of that team. Okay, so one team, one goal, that's a good thing. But still the team lead is kind of, I don't like to use the word, but above the team or besides the team. So we still have the tendency to fall back in making those decisions for the team, especially when there's a lot of pressure, it needs to move fast. I myself am guilty of this behavior as well. You try to make the best effort, but then you decide to get things moving along. So for me, the next step is really work on that equivalence. So when we decide things together, everybody's voice is equal in weight. Okay. So I think for me, the next step is for me to also just be part of the team on that same line, and my voice is equal to everybody everybody's voice in the team. Brings me to my next topic. We're now on that level that we are one team and that we're striving for equivalence. And we try to make decisions together and tackle those problems together. But how do we do this? Because when we try to decide things as a group, there are some pitfalls. In my experience, we have the tendency to jump to conclusions or solutions. Often the loudest person in the room takes the floor and kind of wins because other people give up. But this does not make for better solutions. And the last one is not even getting to a solution, because we just keep talking and debating and never getting anywhere. So, jumping to solutions. An example. It's maybe a silly example, but we provide free soft drinks for everybody in the company at all times. And at our quarterly financial meeting, our CEO pointed out how much money we were spending on providing soft drinks. And everybody jumped into that debate. And we were all saying, maybe we can provide a more healthy alternative, or no, maybe we need to stop doing this and only during festive occasions, and so on. So everybody had an opinion. Everybody was talking in solutions. We talked about this for an hour. No decision was made. A lot of frustration. Now we avoid the topic altogether because nobody wants to talk about it. But let's examine what happened here. So we had a problem, and we went straight to possible solutions for that problem. But was the problem clear? Because for some people, this was a health issue. We need to be a healthy company. We want healthy employees. For some other people, this is a financial issue. So we were trying to solve different problems, and that's why we were not finding each other in the solutions that were proposed. So what we found is it's best to first increase our shared understanding of the problem first, before we jump into solutions. This is sometimes counterintuitive, because it's like, yeah, but then we will lose time because it's another debate. But when you slow down on this point, you will see that you accelerate in the rest of your co-creation process. In Sociocracy, they call this a driver, where you describe the tension you're feeling between what's happening in your organization and what the need is. So, to take our problem, could it be maybe one of these two, where we say the first one is more like, okay, we're providing too much sugary drinks. This is not healthy for our employees. We want healthy and happy employees, so we need to provide a healthy alternative. And the other one is more a financial statement. We provide free drinks. It costs too much money. We need to save costs. So solution for that. And by first agreeing on which of these two it is, or maybe it's even a third, we will get a completely different discussion and completely different solutions to the problem. So what I'm trying to say is be aware of this. Make sure before you start going to the solutions that we're clear on what we're trying to solve, so that we can also challenge the solutions to the problem. Second problem we face. Loudest person wins. I think we've all had this happen. We start a group conversation. Sometimes you also have respect for people. They start voicing their opinion, and the rest of the group just kind of nods. So we are missing all the good ideas and all the wisdom other people of the group can bring. And the problem is, in this traditional debate style, when this happens, one person starts taking the room, other people stop listening. And this is the point when you see people fiddling with their phones, they start looking out the window, they're just not involved anymore. This also creates the power struggles in a meeting room. And this causes the meetings to last for hours and hours. Of course, if you have a lot of time on your hands, maybe you want to spend a lot of time in meeting rooms. So what we found really helps, is trying to create equal speaking time. Rounds is a pattern explained from Sociocracy. The equal speaking time, Google also did research into it. I think it was called Project Aristotle, not sure of it anymore, but there they found that the most effective teams are not those with the most experts in it, but are the teams where there is the most equal speaking time between the members of that team. It's very simple rounds. Everybody speaks its turn. Because I know my turn is going to come, I'm also more actively listening to what you are saying. And so the group moves together, the ideas flow better, and we create a more safe and relaxed space to hear each other. Okay. Next problem, not even getting to a decision. We had this happen when we were trying to fix or set up our maintenance. And so within our team, because we make a lot of projects for different clients, when the project is finished, it goes to maintenance mode. Sometimes some small changes arise, we have some incidents, and you need to set up your maintenance. When you try to discuss this in a group, or when we try to discuss this in a group, kind of the same thing happened as with the Coca-Cola thing. Everybody has an opinion. We keep talking about it, multiple meetings, still no decision. Because when we examined this closer, what did we find? We're all talking about our own preference. I have my meaning, I have my ideas, I have my ideal solution, and we get stuck on it. Because when we are talking in the typical debate style, we are taking the point like, in my opinion, we should go this route. No, but I think this about the problem. So, yeah, we're not having a constructive conversation about it. And because of that lack of structure, the conversation goes on and on and on, and we never reach an end point. It's a bit of repetition from the beginning, but so how can we make sure we get to a decision? You have that autocratic way, but then you have no participation. You have that majority vote, but then we also do not incorporate the wisdom of the entire room. We have consensus, that's the way we tried it, where you can reach good decisions to which everybody agrees, but you spend a lot of time on it, and a lot of debate. So what do you also have? You have consent. The principle of consent is sometimes difficult for us to understand, because it's more not asking for do we all agree, but more does anybody object. So, especially in Belgium, from when we're young, we are taught that when you want something and the light is red, and you have to try to convince people to turn it green. With consent, the light is already on green unless somebody has a valid reason why it should be on red. So the format is like you present your proposal, people get the time to ask questions about this, clarifying questions. Are we all clear what is proposed? Not what do you think about it, just are we clear about what is being proposed? And then we ask for those objections. And then afterwards, when we have a decision, We can write down maybe some other concerns people have, but that were not important enough to stop the decision. The mindset we try to take while reaching a consent is this proposal good enough for now and safe enough to try? So don't get stuck on trying to create that ideal solution that's covering every facet. Is the solution that is proposed an effective answer to the problem at hand? That's the question you need to ask yourself. So what are the benefits of asking for objections? Everybody's needs will be considered because you go again around the table. Does anybody have an objection? When you have an objection, you hold a piece of wisdom. So we actively seek out objections. I like nothing more for people to object to a proposal I bring because it will only make it better. And that's a mindset change we need to take. You have more buy-in because everybody's needs are considered. Afterwards, people will be more motivated to carrying out the solution we made together. Yeah, and then we avoid the toxic behavior afterwards. I've seen this a lot when we make decisions in a room and then you go get a coffee and then people are like, what was that? What decision was being made here? I do not agree with this, even though you had a group conversation. And when you have that buy-in, when you consider everybody's needs, you avoid that toxic behavior afterwards. And again, it saves time because it makes sure we don't end up in endless debate about things. Yeah, and again, I think I've repeated this enough times, but we get more information out of the group. Decision-making methods, consent, it's collective, we have participation, and it's fast. So for me, especially when it's more difficult decisions, I like to use consent. I'm not saying you have to use it on every little decision you make, but especially for the more complex problems, I would say try it out and see how it feels. Okay. And then you can celebrate because you made a good, involved decision with the team. And that's something to be happy about. Okay. So to sum it all up, what can you try at home? For me, it's like attention point, really work on that equivalence, trying to involve everybody. Agree on the issue first before we try to solve anything. Use rounds, listen to each other, try to get that good flow going. Search for consent. Okay. Something with the animations. For the people who didn't know Sociocracy already, but it piqued your interest, these are some very useful links to go and check out. For the rest, if there are any questions for us and more detailed experience we faced in our company, please come down and we can talk about it some more. That's it.